Good morning, Year 7, and welcome to another poem on identity or related to identity. What do you think about when you look at this image, the image on the slide there? What title would you give it? Just 3 minutes on that. Today we're looking at a poem called Infant Joy by a poet and engraver, in fact, called William Blake. And so the title to put into your books is Infant Joy by William Blake. Quick check as usual, make sure you've got a pen in your book, a copy of the poem which will be attached to Classcharts, and some highlighters and some coloured pens. And here we are, here's our review of the do now. What do you think about when you look at this image? Fairies, babies, nature, a mother. What title would you do it? The poem's actually called Infant Joy. I bet yours are better actually. I'd be really interested to hear what they are. As usual, we're going to look at the title, Infant Joy. What do you think this poem is going to be about? Could be about the happiness of being a child. An infant is a young child from a baby to year 3. Yeah, well, year 3 at school, obviously that's age 7. The happiness of a child. Joy means happiness, the start of happiness, happiness in its infancy. Those are all good ideas about what this poem could be about. So stick in your poem and we're going to annotate it together. Right, as ever with the first reading, don't focus on what you don't know, focus on bits that you do understand. So the questions are, which I want you to answer in full sentences: who do you think is the speaker, and what do you think the poem is about? So here it is, Infant Joy by William Blake. I have no name, I am but 2 days old. What shall I call thee? I happy am, joy is my name, sweet joy befall thee. Pretty joy, sweet joy but 2 days old. Sweet joy I call thee, thou dost smile, I sing the while, sweet joy befall thee. So 10 minutes, who do you think is the speaker and what do you think the poem is about? So here we are, who do you think is the speaker? There are 2 speakers. The speaker is a 2-day-old baby and her mother. The dash helps the reader spot where the speaker changes in stanza 1. What do you think the poem is about? The poem is a conversation. First the mother names the child Joy, and then she goes on to make a wish that the child has joy in her life. And there we are, I've annotated, or rather highlighted, the 2 different speakers for you there. Right, how many times does, we're going to explode the poem now, which is look at its the kind of nuts and bolts of it, if you like, the language and the structure. How many different words does Blake use in this poem? Count repeated words once, and how many times does he repeat joy, and how many times does he repeat sweet? That's 5 minutes there. And there you are. How many different words does Blake use in this poem? 29 out of 50. And how many times does he repeat joy? 6 times, and sweet 4 times. Now let's see. Let's now think about the effect of these repetitions and the use of so few words. The fact that Blake uses so few words presents the poem as being simple and straightforward, something a child could understand. This also mirrors the idea that the poem is from the point of view of a child. Repetition is a technique that emphasises an idea for the reader. Repeating the word joy emphasises the idea that happiness is important. Not only is the baby happy, but happiness is the one thing the mother wants her baby to have. Repeating the word sweet emphasises how lovely the baby is. It has connotations of something pleasing and cute. So you don't need to write that down, just have a read of it. Let's have another look at the poem. Why has the poet finished each stanza by repeating the same line? Answer that in a full sentence. Can you spot other patterns in the lines of each stanza? Right, why has the poet finished each stanza by repeating the same line? To emphasise the idea that the mother wants her child to have happiness. The positioning of this as the last line in each stanza also adds to the significance of the line. Can you spot other patterns in the lines of each stanza? Each line in stanza 1 is linked to the line in the same position in stanza 2. So I am but 2 days old is linked to but 2 days old, and I happy am is linked to thou dost smile. It is like the 2 speakers are so in tune that they are thinking the same things at the same time. And that's sweet. What I want you to send to me is your glued in and annotated poems, please. Year 7, that's the thing I want you to upload onto Classcharts. Brilliant work you've been sending me, and anything else from this lesson that you'd like to send me, but I'd particularly like to see the annotated poems. But before you go, this poem comes from a selection of poems called Songs of Innocence and Experience by William Blake. Every poem in it has a sort of a reflection, dark and light. So this poem, Infant Joy, comes from the Song of Innocence and is mirrored by a darker poem called Infant Sorrow from Songs of Experience. What do you think Infant Sorrow is about? Just spend 3 minutes on that. And Infant Sorrow is about a baby being born into suffering and unhappiness, of course. It's a complete opposite of the poem we've been looking at. My mother groaned, my father wept, into the dangerous world I leapt, helpless, naked, piping loud, like a fiend hid in a cloud, struggling in my father's hands, striving against my swaddling bands. Bound and weary, I thought best to sulk upon my mother's breast. I think I prefer Infant Joy, don't you? Anyway, that's a little bit of an introduction to Blake there, though, Songs of Innocence and Experience. Well done, Year 7. Don't forget to upload and show me your work, and I will speak to you next time.